First, I would like to briefly share my experiences of this winter retreat. I did the medicine Buddha practice in my partial retreat, but I switched to karma abiding meditation in my full one. Even though I was instructed to not let my mind be uncontrolled when entering Vasa, I had to admit that my mind was all over the places the first 2 weeks of my full retreat. Many past events, people, I think a few painful memories and exciting fantasies, and even craving for food came flooding back. I was really shocked when all of a sudden one of my childhood neighbors popped up in my mind, which I had never thought about for over 50 years. Somehow I did not have too many problems with dullness or laxity, but I had to put forth effort to deal with assignment, obsession about my kitchen duties and chores, and making plans in my meditation session. Very fortunately, with self-discipline and self-motivation and aspiration, along with keeping noble silence and following the prerequisite for developing karma abiding from the Kalamashila teaching, I gradually had a little control over my mind. It became quieter, calmer, and more peaceful. So besides developing karma abiding, my main effort for this winter retreat is to guard my six senses diligently throughout the day with mindfulness. So I was more aware of my unpleasant, pleasant, and neutral feelings, which led to craving, clinging, and suffering as part of the change of dependent arising. It was very fascinating to notice agitation, aversion, anger, discontent, resistance, and all the defilements which arose like lightning at the moment of sense contact, and try to apply the antidote to overcome, to stop feeding those afflictions and to let go. In addition, I also made a conscious effort to develop humility, loving kindness, patience, contentment, and gratitude in order to overcome my self-centeredness, my selfishness, and my judgmental and critical mind. I am very happy that I was able to notice more and more gross and subtle habitual tendency which I have made a persistent effort to change and break them. I also realized that if I have a little control of my mind, while I am have in health, physical healthy, it is impossible to have some control of my mind over my deathbed. This did lead me to try to get up a little bit early, around 4:15, and to try to skip medicine meals so that I had more time for study, practice, and exercise. Thanks to the positive benefit that I did experience from this full retreat, I really want to keep this retreat momentum and discipline going as long as I can. Next, I want to share how hearing the news about the Russian invasion of Ukraine has had a significant impact on my practice, and how can I remain equanimous since the war broke out. Indeed, the news about the Russian invasion of Ukraine was a very powerful wake-up call for my spiritual practice. It reminds me that life is unpredictable and uncertain. Terminal illness, injury, and death might strike me any moment, and all the current conducive conditions such as safety, the four requisites, and freedom to practice might disappear or might be unavailable the next moment. In addition, like any impermanent phenomena that arises, abides, and ceases, the Ukraine war and our annual winter retreat will end. But the very fact that this winter retreat has an end date, March 31st, while the Ukraine war may last a year or many years, who knows. That's why every session I had to remind myself, may I step back from most activities in order to focus inwards. May I treasure this opportunity to deepen my practice in order to keep my mind in the retreat. Furthermore, recollecting many times a day of how fortunate I am to be alive, healthy and safe, and how fortunate I am to have all the conducive conditions to practice has been uplifting my mind and heart and fueling my practice. So you might wonder why I can remain equanimous since the war broke out. As you already know, brutality, violence, and destruction are expected in any conflict since the ancient time until the present. So I was not very surprised or shocked to hear what happened in Ukraine. And also since I was a child, I have been very afraid to see any violence from the news on TV or in any movie, because I always have nightmares and become very anxious, worried, and fearful afterwards. That's why I decided not to watch any news about the war. Instead, every session, I dedicate my own merits and the merits of others and pray, may the conflicts in Ukraine, Syria, Afghanistan, Israel, Palestine, and anywhere in the world cease. Or I could bring up my aspiration in every session. May all sentient beings be free of greed, hatred, and delusion, the three poison and the root of any conflict on this planet. This did help me to avoid either being uncompassionate and indifferent to the suffering of others, or falling into my personal distress, despair, or depression. I'm very, very grateful for all the kindness and support from Venerable Children, Venerable Cato, and all the community members and the guests, the generosity of our donors, supporters, and volunteers, especially our food donors, our food shoppers, who spend days and hours to shop and bring food offering to the Abbey, and to the kindness of countless beings, so that I had a precious opportunity to do this winter retreat.